Hi everyone and welcome back to our next episode of Pokey Paths. So, last time we arrived in Cerulean City and we haven't taken any time to ask around. This guy here, I'm not going to talk to him, but if you trade him a Poliwhirl, he will trade you a Jinx, which is an Ice and Psychic type. That's really helpful in this game because it can be difficult to get Psychic types and it can be difficult to get Ice types. You probably won't be able to get a Poliwag really quickly or evolve it, but you can certainly do that, and then you can get that pretty good trade. This guy here will explain to you all of the badges. I think now is probably a good time to explain why these are so important in this game. So, as you saw from his text there, you will get some boosts for each badge. You know, your attack might go up, your special. That's every other gym badge, I believe, in this game. The other issue to discuss with this is that you will end up getting badge boosts. And so first off, your Pokemon will get stronger with every badge that you get from them. Also, the more you use stat boosting moves, there will be a badge boost glitch that comes with it. Now, I don't exactly remember all of the ins and outs of the badge boost glitch, but you can, it's something that you can look up, and it's pretty helpful later on in the game. This is not going to be helpful right now. We are not going to buy this bike. But really what you'll likely see in your playthrough is you'll likely realize how you can end up getting your Pokemon who you've trained with the entire game seeming more powerful than they really are based on their level. Again, that's because the more that you fight with them, every time they get a badge, they get more powerful. In later games, that will be replaced with the IV and EV system, the individual values and effort values. In this game, it is a little bit more overpowered. So I think that the balance is probably just about right in this game. But, it's each their own with it. We can go to the gym. I think, though, right now what we're going to do, though, is heal up and go up to Nugget Bridge. Now that we've covered all of this, all of Cerulean, you don't have to go up to Nugget Bridge initially. You can fight the gym trainer. We probably could beat Misty if we went and fought her now. I think even some of the official Nintendo walkthroughs and the Bulbapedia ones are ones that will say fight Misty first, especially the Pikachu like we do. I prefer to do Nugget Bridge first. I think I'd always rather take the experience when it's handed to us, and we have to do Nugget Bridge in order to advance anyway, so it's not like we're going too far out of our path here. Now, everyone here is talking about Bill. Again, they're trying to really clue you in on what you've got to do in order to advance. I won't show it here for sake of time, but the roadblock deals with a house over to the right. One thing I want to point out is you see the guy standing by the entrance here to the cave on the far left. As a kid, I never really beat this game, and so I had no idea what this guy was standing near. I could just see him, but he almost looked like a British redcoat, or like a guard guarding the queen to me with his big hat. So over here, the officer, I forgot you can't go in even, but the officer will block you from advancing, and there's nowhere else you can get out from the town. Alright, let's put Mac up front because Andrew is coming back. you're still struggling along back here. Funny he says that, considering we have handed him his rear end both times we've fought him. But let's make it 3 for 3. Okay, Mac should get a quick and easy Thundershock. Here, his team is very similar to last time. His Pidgey has now evolved into Pidgeotto. Oh, that hurts. Wow. Okay. Ooh, this might not be as easy as I thought. Okay, phew. I believe in Gen 1, if you switch out 2, that debuff will reset. Alright, his Abra's coming out, but let's... Yeah, you know, let's give Squirt some experience here. Squirt's not going to be able to take on Bulbasaur, so we'll likely want to do that with Mama. The Abra here only knows Teleport, so this is a free win for you. It's kind of interesting that they put Abra on his team at this point, only knowing Teleport. You have to figure that that was intentional, and I like to think so, at least, especially because of how powerful Alakazam can become and will become in this game. I really do think that that was probably to make this a little bit easier on you. Funny thing about Abra and the Psychic type is they were overpowered for a few reasons in this generation. The first one being that it was a special typing, and we can get into what a special typing means here, but essentially what that meant was that you, instead of having an attack and defense stat, like a special attack and special defense, you just had a special category here. So that meant that all the special moves that you used were the defense and your actual special itself were lumped together. So if you had a really high special attack, you had an equally high special defense. So special leaning Pokemon like Abra were really overpowered in this game. Now, the same would be true for a high special attacker, a water special attacker, or a grass special attacker. Fire, so to say. However, the reason why Psychic is really overpowered in this generation, in addition to the special differences, is because Psychic really doesn't have any weaknesses in this game. So Psychic was supposed to have weaknesses of primarily of Bug and of Ghost type. Well, the problem with the Ghost type is that the only Ghost in the game is Gengar, who's also Poison type, who Psychic is super effective against. So that really does nothing to help you in your fights against the Psychic type Pokemon. You're equally likely to get a super effective hit against you as you are to deal one to Abra. Now the better part of that is Gengar is a little bit faster, I believe, so you might get your attack off first, but still, it's a pretty rough proposition. And then with the Bug type is technically super effective in Gen 1, but there are no good Bug moves. Well, Andrew, unsurprisingly, after all that, goes down. Once again, someone is telling us we need to go to Bill's house. I guess they do sort of hold your hand a little bit more than I remember in some of these games. Let's heal up a little bit here just before we go on to Nugget Bridge. Nugget Bridge is the upcoming little path that we're going to take, where I don't even know if that's the official name in the game. It might just be Route 24, or it might just be called part of Route 24. But there are going to be 5 trainers that we're going to face on this bridge, and each one of them is a little bit more difficult than the last, in my opinion at least. And at the very end, you face a final trainer. Alright, So, and your reward for beating that trainer, or beating Nugget Bridge, is eventually a nugget. Oh, well, there we go. It is officially Nugget Bridge in the game. Okay, once again, we have a bug catcher. I find it funny that bug catchers are one of the lowest on the totem pole here. Because in Gen 1, you really don't have many other pure type trainers. I mean, you have fire breathers, but I think even sometimes they have a Koga, or not Koga, they have Pokemon like Koga. They might have a coughing or wheezing, if I'm remembering correctly. So I think a bug trainer, it'll be interesting to see, but I think that they're the only one that only will use bug-type Pokemon. Or will only use the type of Pokemon that they're assigned, and won't have other ones. Alright, Mama is getting out some good damage here now. I am glad with our decision to not evolve Mama just yet. It's nice to get a little time with this other back sprite. Alright, one trainer down. 140 isn't that bad when you think about it. We do have 10 Pokeballs, or we started by buying 10 Pokeballs. And, that seems like a heavy investment in the beginning, but you never want to be caught without an item that you really need. I probably should have switched Mama up front, but we can handle that for our next Pokemon. But anyway, I do find that I fall into this trap of conserving money in these games. Likely out of games like Generation 2, where money is a lot harder to come by. In a game like the original ones, you really can and probably should be spending a lot of your money in the beginning. You're buying repels, selling the nugget. I think that the game was designed with that in mind. So in between the last video and recording today, I took a look at some of our move sets. Now, move sets in Generation 1 are pretty weak, even for some of the really good Pokemon. You're really relying on using a good TM for your strong Pokemon, and you really are limited in terms of what your Pokemon will learn. So for example, I was looking at Mama's learn set, and it really is not great coming up. So it really is, leaves a little bit to be desired coming up. So I don't feel entirely like we need to level up Mama initially, just for the reasons that we gave on the last video. But I think that it really becomes an issue then with some of the other Pokemon that you end up getting. So the starters, I think, get pretty good movesets. I think Pikachu, Mac will get a pretty decent moveset. For a lot of other Pokemon, you really are relying on TMs. Alright, let's do this. I also realized that after the gym battle, we're going to be getting Bubble Beam as well, which is the TM that Misty will give you afterward. And Bubble Beam is, it's going to be the strongest water attack we have access to this early. Let's think. I think Mac could probably take out this Zubat on one hit. And there's nothing Zubat can really do, even if we don't. Well, let's eat our words. Or maybe not. So both of our two of our big hitters are going to be getting some serious upgrades Then we get the Dig TM and then the Bubble Beam TM. Alright, we're halfway through Nugget Bridge, so let's go back and heal up. Excellent. Well, thank you, Nurse Joy. I love in the anime how Nurse Joy and Officer Jenny just have the exact same characters. And yeah, the rolling trope of how they're all sisters or cousins or family members. And that was pretty unique. Okay, let's go. Mac, let's take this down. Wow, huh. That tanked way more than I thought it was going to. I thought Mac would have been able to take down much more of their health. Let's see if Mac can... Ugh, that's only a critical hit. Well, we might survive it, but why chance it? You know what, though? No. I think there's a good chance that we get paralyzed. We should survive this. Alright. And let's go back to heal. Okay, let's take on the last trainer on Nugget Bridge. Trainer number 5 has a Mankey. Junior trainer, who I don't believe we faced one of them before. Junior trainer is supposed to be a little bit older than a youngster. Probably the male equivalent to a lass. So, oh, okay, let's not die. Let's hit him with a tackle because I think his defense is pretty low. Alright, let's see if we can get a stab. Water gun, if that'll kill him. Alright, knock him out, I should say. Excellent. So as I was saying, I like Mankey a lot. Mankey is probably one of my favorite Pokemon. Ooh, we don't have any more potions. Alright, you know, let's save and let's chance it against the Team Rocket grunt at the end. Sorry for the spoiler. And there you get the Nugget. I don't think we want to join Team Rocket. No, I think we're going to stay independent. Although that would be a pretty good heel turn at a certain point. Alright, Team Rocket wants to fight. Let's see if Squirt can take him down in 2 hits. It'll be just about 2, except this wrap will keep us subdued for a little bit. In any event, Mankey is one of my favorites. I just always enjoyed Mankey, and as I think I've mentioned before, I do love how they added Mankey to be in an earlier part of the game in the remakes, following after Pokemon Yellow, so you can usually get Mankey on Route 22. And that's usually really good to face off against Brock, particularly if you have if you pick Charmander as your starter. However, Mankey is version exclusive in this game to Pokemon Red, so we won't be able to get Mankey. However, I think that there's a reason I picked Pokemon Blue. It's for a different version exclusive Pokemon. Sorry, Mac. Okay, well, let's throw Mama in and get some experience. Good thing this isn't a Nuzlocke, huh? Okay, let's battle this trainer down here. Just to get it out of the way. So this junior trainer has a Rattata and an Ekans. We should be able to take both of them down with our current layout. That will do a lot to help with it. Ekans is another Pokemon that I've never really played through. I don't even know if I ever even used an Ekans before. My most recent Pokemon challenge I did was I started about this time last year. I decided to make a full living dex. And a living dex is where you have a Pokédex that is entirely complete across all the games. Usually it's all in Pokemon Home. And that means you have one of each species. So you don't just have a checked off Pokédex entry for Venusaur, you might have it for... You also have like a Bulbasaur in your box, you also have an Ivysaur, etc. It also includes, most times, version differences, so Alolan forms, Galarian forms, and if there are any differences in gender, too. So you really end up getting, it's about like 1,300 different Pokemon and forms and all. So I ended up completing that. It took me about 6 months, which was a lot longer than I probably thought. Now, I took my time with the games, and, I'm sure it took hundreds of hours over playthroughs. I haven't even tried to add it up, because a lot of my job is spent adding up time that I spend, and that would have just driven me nuts, knowing how much time I spent in my free time on that. But, a lot of it was after hours unwinding, similar to this. Now, the reward, though, is pretty good. You do get a reward for not completing a living dex, but having every Pokemon marked off in your Pokemon Home, and that is the Pokeball form of Magearna. Now, mine is still sitting in Pokemon Home. I have yet to bring it out and use it in any battles, but it's something I hope to do. Maybe I'll do it in Scarlet and Violet, or in Legends ZA. Despite being such a big Pokemon fan, I actually haven't even played through the Legends ZA, the DLC for it. And like I said, I really enjoyed Legends ZA a lot. I just think I got on a real heavy kick of it I unlocked everything. I did all the challenges. I did all Mabel's challenges and the 1,000 battles. And I think I was just a little, I wouldn't say burnt out, but I think just tired of the game. And the DLC came out so soon after it was released that, yeah, I just never got around to it. So, who knows, maybe I'll do a similar playthrough. Okay. Oh, not Pokédex. Although we haven't taken a look through the Pokédex. I'll show a reason why we should coming up. Alright. Youngster wants to fight. A lot of youngsters around here. So now that we've gone over to this little section onto the eastern edge, this is now officially Route 25. I think I mentioned it briefly in passing, but Nugget Bridge is on Route 24. And now you might be saying to yourself, didn't we just get off of like routes 1, 2, 3, 4? And yeah, you're entirely right. I think they just named this little path upward as routes 24 and 25 because they don't connect to anything else. Okay, and down goes Spiro. This hiker down here, I believe, has an Onyx. So let's lead with Squirt. You should hopefully be able to handle this one. Okay, there we go. Excellent, Squirt. Excellent. He's becoming the master of taking down Onyxes and Geodudes. Okay, let's get our guy Mac back out in front. It also dawned on me that it's funny we named Mac Mac. And after a Mac book, it didn't even dawn on me that it's named after an electronic and it's an electric Pokemon. Oh wow, look at this Slowpoke sprite. That's really cool. I forgot that Slowpoke was just laying on its belly like that. It does look pretty derpy here. Oh man. I think... Ooh. Ah, shoot. Okay, let's see. Come on. Sorry, Mac. Oh, man. Maybe it's because I'm not playing a Nuzlocke, but... I'm really, This is why you don't take chances. Especially in a Nuzlocke. Because sometimes you just get luck like what we're getting today. Okay, well we just beat the youngster. I am going to... Yeah, why don't we save real quick, and then I am going to go heal. Okay, now we're back, and let's play this trainer, the one with a boyfriend. Two Pokemon here. One is a Nidoran male and one is a Nidoran female. They must have had fun with that localization language. Would you believe this luck? They don't want Mac to stay alive. This is crazy. Okay, well, yeah, of course we're gonna switch Mac out. Maybe we have an item that can heal him, but wow. I also don't know why I keep calling him a Mac a him. It could be a female. So I think I mentioned this before, but and probably not to the level of depth that I would like, but one of the reasons I like to play, or I'm playing the way that I am, or playing this game the way that I am, is because I am excited to be able to transfer the Pokemon up to modern games with the Virtual Console and PokeTransporter. And also, for some of you who don't know, you were never able to transfer your Gen 1 and Gen 2 Pokemon up to Gen 3 and beyond. Last was in bad condition. Alright, let's see. Alright, we do have an antidote. There you go, Mac. So, as I was saying, you're not able to... And we have a hiker coming up, so... Something in my gut tells me we want a water type out front. Anyway, you couldn't transfer Pokemon from Gen 1 and 2 to Gen 3. You could trade between Gens 1 and 2 on your Game Boy, but you couldn't trade up to Gen 3. And that was really because of the IV and EV system that was put in place in the games. I think at the time they just realized it was going to be way too difficult to change up all the Pokemon stats. Why I think I think that's interesting for multiple reasons, but there were so many stat changes between Gens 1 and 2 as well that I think it's just very strange that they decided to make the cutoff with Gen 3. But in any event, it happened. And you can't trade between Gens 1, 2 to 3. But with the release of the Virtual Console games on the 3DS, what those were Nintendo re-released a lot of their all the old Gen 1 and Gen 2 games onto the 3DS through what was called the Virtual Console. And using Pokemon Bank and the PokeTransporter app, you actually were able to transfer Pokemon from those Gen 1 and 2 games into Pokemon Home. And it was so cool, they have this little like Game Boy icon next to them. The one thing that I don't love about it, which I can get over it, but is that they the date that you first caught them will say the date that they were added to, I think, PokeTransporter or maybe Pokemon Bank. I forget, but it's not the date in the game. I'm sure that there are ways you can manipulate that, but anyway, I don't really have any Pokemon where I really care about that date all too much. But anyway, I say all that because I think it would be really cool, and I'm looking forward to transferring a lot of these guys up to other games as we get closer. Or as we beat the game, and then who knows, maybe I'll use them in other games. That's part of the fun of doing a whole playthrough of all the generations. Okay, another junior trainer. So I hope you can see now why I really like doing the training up here first before you go to the gym. Down to face Misty. I think it's just good to get this additional training in, especially if you don't have a level cap for your playthrough. Those are some of the hardest Nuzlocks. That's what's called a hardcore Nuzlocke, is one where not only do you have the Nuzlocke rules, like what we've discussed about, you can only catch the first Pokemon you encounter on a route, if it faints, it dies, etc. Sometimes you have what's called a hardcore Nuzlocke, which typically has 3 other types of restrictions. The first one is that you cannot use items in battle. If I'm doing a hardcore Nuzlocke, I tend to relax that requirement just a little bit and say the only items I'm allowed to use in battle are the exact same items that an opposing, like a computer would use. So if a computer has one potion, I can use one potion. Okay, TM19. Let's look up what TM19 is. Seismic Toss. So I also meant to mention, we kind of skipped over this, but we got TM12 last time, which is Water Gun, which we already have. TM1 is Dynamic Punch, or Mega Punch. I want to see. Mama can't learn it. I think I'm going to hold off then. I think maybe we would want Mama to learn it, which would be good. Whirlwind, we're not going to use that for anyone. TM45 I think is Attract. Oh, Thunder Wave. And then let's see, 19 is Seismic Toss. Seismic Toss isn't great. It does fixed damage equal to the user's level. I think we're gonna hold off on that for right now. I just like where our movesets are. I know that we probably could use it right now, but I also just think that maybe there's gonna be a time later when we could use it more on a different Pokemon. The issue with some of the fixed damage ones, and this might not be so in Gen 1, but I believe in at least Gen 4 and beyond, the fixed damage doesn't get a stab or super effective increase. So if you have Seismic Toss it and you use it as a fighting move against a super effective dark type Pokemon or a normal type Pokemon, it actually won't deal the stab or the super effective damage. And I think that really holds back moves like that. You already get them so early and they're not really that helpful. I think they would be a lot better if you got some of those buffs to it. Okay, Youngster is about to use Sandshrew. Squirt, let's throw you back out there, huh? Excellent. The Hermes winged boot ears on Wartortle have always looked funny to me too, in the back sprite. Okay, and this last, I believe, yeah, let's face off with Mama. Last, I believe, starts off with an Oddish here. And we actually are not very strong against grass types right now. We have a bit of a weakness there. Mama technically should be super effective against grass types with her poison typing. However, she really just resists it. A lot of these grass types, like Oddish for instance, are grass and poison. So you're not really going to do great damage. And also Poison Sting is not going to do great damage, period. Okay. Putting up a bit more of a fight. And a lot of these older games too, you really realize that a lot of the Pokemon battles seem to go further. It seems like you do less damage or your defense is higher. Now it seems like you sort of one-shot everything all the time. Sort of like that. But it just feels like sometimes you have a bit more of a grind in some of the older games. I don't know why that is, but I'm not the only one who feels that. A lot of my friends have mentioned the same thing. So maybe it's just also you get better as the games go on, but I found that it still is the case when you're playing these older games. For example, we're gonna have to take probably 4 hits to take out this Oddish, but the Oddish is also doing barely any damage to us, which I think is very not symbolic, but I think it's very representative of the early generation games, is that you have really these grinds in these battles. Okay, and last goes down. That's probably our last trainer we're gonna face until we take on Misty. I think I'm pretty solid on getting ready to face Misty. But first we gotta, let's see. This is a weird house. The teleporter is displayed on the PC monitor. We got some weird device over here. And we've got what looks like a monster. Pokemon. Hiya, I'm a Pokemon. No, I'm not. Call me... Oh, so Bill is actually a Pokemon. Oh, he got combined with a Pokemon. You know what? Let's see what happens. I want to help him, but let's see what happens here. What do you say, Chief? Okay, all right. Oh, they don't even let you... They don't even let you ask again. He just goes right into the cell separation chamber. Okay. Canonically, I think Bill is in a Kabuto outfit. At least in the anime. Alright, now let's talk to Bill. But here we get the SS ticket. You can sail on the great cruise ship, the SS Anne. Alright, I guess we'll go. One funny trick that I learned is that if you leave and come back and you check Bill's PC, you see Bill's favorite Pokemon list. And here now, this is how you can get entries for all the evolutions on your in your Pokédex. That's pretty cool. I never knew that until I was getting ready to film. Alright, now that we're up on Cerulean Cape, we can walk around a little bit. But I think it's about time that we go and see what Misty's up to. Walk all the way back down to Cerulean. It doesn't take that long, really, to do all the Nugget Bridge, or at least as long as I thought. Now you can see that the officer has moved. You can't progress all that far because you do need to, I think you do need to get Misty's badge in order to use Cut. We might already be able to use that with Brock's, but in any event, there's a reason why you can't progress until you get Misty. Yes, you do need Misty, I believe, is in order to use Cut. And let's put Mac out in front. Mac's gonna be doing the heavy lifting here. I'm gonna guess that Andrew already has this. Yep. Well, that's fun. Zap him with electricity. He read our mind. I like to talk to this guy from behind, on the side of the pool. The swimmer sprites are also so strange. You have this guy in a swim cap and a Speedo. And then you also have the girls in bikinis. It's just, yeah, they really were leaving nothing to, they're making sure that you know that they're swimmers. There are some trainers and sprites that they changed between the Japanese release and the American release. Hopefully, when we get to them, I'll hopefully remember to point those out. Excellent. Down goes the swimmer. I want to see, though... Yeah, we can't go all the way around, even to Misty. Okay, well then, let's go up to the other side. I think there's only 2 trainers here. Okay. The Goldeen sprite also looks so... It looks like it could not care less about being in this battle. There's something, though, I don't know if Goldeen's ever looked better in modern games. There's something very, I don't know if fetching is the right word, or something very... Like, Goldeen, I think, looks good in this sprite, in a way that it doesn't really in the future ones. Okay. Alright, and let's go heal before taking on Misty. Okay, we are back, and I think before taking on Misty, let's put Mama out front. I talked a big game about not evolving Mama just yet, and part of that being because of this Misty battle. So let's put Mama out front, and then if something goes awry, we can always switch into Mac. An all-out offensive with water-type Pokemon. That's essentially what we are with picking Squirt as our starter. Although we do have our little pocket Pikachu to keep in the back there. All right, let's do scratches. I think that's going to be the strongest we're going to be able to hit it. I also think that Misty... Oh! I think that Misty has a potion to use. There we go. So hopefully we can coax her into using that. Oh, an X defend on Staryu. Okay, great. Then we got her to use that before. And now maybe she has an X special that she uses on Starmie. Let's see. Well, in any event, let's switch. Yeah, let's switch into Mac. Starmie is a beast in these games. I did not expect Starmie to be faster than us. Oh, man. Alright, Mac. Oh, jeez. Really? Okay. Yikes. Okay. Let's throw Mama out. Wow, are we going to... Oh, man. Alright. Let's see what Squirt can do. No way, Misty has 2 X defends. Well, let's use Tail Whip. Let's do 2 Tail Whips. It's going to keep spamming Tackle because it doesn't want to use a water move against us. That's how at least the AI works in this game. Let's hope now, though, that we have enough of an advantage and they don't get a critical hit, we don't miss. And we might actually pull this off, Squirt. All right, come on, don't miss. Don't crit, don't miss. Don't crit, don't miss. Oh my god. Yes! Wow, that was way closer than I thought we were gonna be. Oh man, alright, Squirt. Oh my god, okay, there we go. Excellent, that was a whole lot harder than I thought it needed to be, but or than that it was going to be, but I will take it. Sorry, Misty. All right, so you know, it just goes to show that even in Gen 1, the AI or the computer just has some really interesting quirks to it. Wow, survived on 5 hit points. What we did get from Misty was Bubble Beam. And we are going to teach that to Squirt. I think we'll just replace Bubble. All right. Way to go. You know what? I would say, Squirt, you earned that one. You were the certain MVP of that battle. Okay. Now there's one more thing I want to do before wrapping up. And that is, I want to go down to start making our way to Vermilion City. I really didn't want to keep these videos. I wanted to keep them a little shorter than an hour. But I just think, you know, I'm having a lot of fun. I can always cut them up later. Yeah, let's see how it goes. I didn't mean to talk to you twice. But now that we're going to face this rocket, we probably want to make sure that he is... Yeah, let's lead with Mama. Okay. This Rocket Grunt is going to have a Machop and a Drowsy. I think we can do some good damage with both of them. We definitely don't want Mama out against the Drowsy. So let's at least try and take out the Machop and go from there. Alright, Mama's got good attack here. Alright, there we go. And yeah, we are going to switch out. Let's see what Mac can do here. I think Drowsy has high special. So, see, that's also the issue. I just realized that was probably the issue with Starmie. Also, why Starmie was having tanked our Thunder Shock so well is likely because it had such high special attack that ends up being special defense as well here. All right, let's switch in. Let's put Squirt out here. Let's see what Bubble Beam looks like. Excellent. At least Matt gets some experience. And now, get TM28 for Dig. Let's see if we can teach it to Mama just yet. No, Mama can't learn it. I hope Mama can learn it entirely. Okay, well, let's go and save and heal up, and then we can see what Mama can learn. Okay, well, we are healed. I learned, though, that it turns out that neither Nidorina, nor our eventual Nido Queen can learn Dig. That shouldn't stop us, though, from evolving Mama. So let's give it a go. Wow. Look at Mama. Alright, let's confirm she can't learn Dig. Okay, then guess what? We're going to teach it to Squirt. I don't love this for our upcoming battle against Lieutenant Surge. However, I think it is passable. Let's forget Water Gun. We don't need it now that we have Bubble Beam. You know, I've used... that's going to be really interesting. We can't quite go through there yet because we don't have Cut. But like I said, there's one other thing I want to do. I want to show you some... I want to get a little bit toward the way to Vermilion. Like I said, I'm trying to keep these episodes at about an hour. And here is a Meowth. Alright, let's... Oh, that Poison Sting did a lot more than I thought. Let's see if we can catch this Meowth. Alright, Meowth was added. And Meowth was caught. Our next team member is Meowth. Now, you might be wondering to yourself, why Meowth? And for those of you who are in the know, Meowth shares a special place for me. Meowth is actually my favorite Pokemon. Meowth adores circular objects, wanders the streets on a nightly basis to look for dropped loose change. Meowth is my favorite Pokemon because my cat is named Meowth. And he is affectionately nicknamed Meowie. So I think it is only fitting for our playthrough to have Meowie on our team. Oh, alright, let's see Meowie in all his glory. Let's move him all the way up to get ready for switch training. There he is. Alright, well, we evolved a Pokemon and we caught a new member of our team, all in the very last bit. I think that's just about good for this episode. So thanks again for tuning in, everyone, and I look forward to seeing you next time.